What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a complete rebuild on a Tecumseh snowblower carburetor. Let's jump right in. Okay guys, so as I said, we're going to be doing a complete rebuild on this. Came off a snowblower that I just got in. As you can tell, it's pretty gummed up, pretty dirty. The snowblower would not run without assistance. So we're going to be doing a complete rebuild on that. What I mean by complete, you'll see in a minute, but we're going to be changing out, well, you see the rebuild kit. We're going to be using most of the parts in here. So let's get right in. I'm going to spray this off real quick with some carb cleaner, just get some of this exterior stuff off real quick. Looks like there's some sawdust and some other stuff, probably sitting in the guy's garage for a minute. So let me spray that off real quick and we'll get back into it. It's amazing what just a little bit of carb cleaner will do with all that nasty stuff. So there we are. That's what she looks like, just being sprayed off real quick. So let's take the bowl off. It's going to be a 1/2 inch bowl nut on the bottom. So there's the jet. You can see there's like a little piece of, that will focus, a little piece of hair, not hair, but let's see if I can get you in the picture. Something right inside of it. The bowl actually doesn't look too bad. Definitely seen a lot worse. Get this bowl gasket off out of the way. Pull out the hinge pin for the float. Oops. You can see the needle. It's got a little bit of, you might not be able to see that, but it's just got a little bit of ring around it. Looks like it had been stuck inside of the, or stuck on the seat at some point. Next we'll take off the, we're going to take out the plastic emulsion tube, if that's what you want to call it on here. I think it might actually be called like a fuel pipe. If you go to look it up on Tecumseh's parts diagram or something. Doesn't matter. Emulsion tube, fuel pipe. If I can get it out. They're plastic on these though, if you didn't know. Just be careful with them. You can replace them though, easily. They do sell it as a separate part. I can't get this one out. I might end up destroying it and replacing it. Usually I can get it just to pop right out. This thing's a booger. Or maybe it's got boogers on it. That's why it won't come out. Jeez. You can see the little O-rings falling apart like crazy. Partly because I'm chewing it up, but partly because it's just rotten. So there's the little fuel pipe, emulsion tube, pipe that sticks up the center, whatever. Yeah, and that little O-ring is just brittle. Just cracked it in half. Let's see, I need to make sure I get you in the camera. Yeah, just broke in half. So We'll clean that up. Next, we need to use my handy dandy Tecumseh Carburetor rebuild tool. This is Tecumseh part number 670377 if you're interested in getting one. This part digs in to get the seat out. Stick it in there. There she comes. That's still in pretty good shape. Next, we are going to, well, let's pop this off real quick. So we've got the pick here. Under here is a part that is the main frustration and a major issue. What am I trying to say? A main source of surging on snowblowers. Pull this piece out right here. Make sure this is clean. If your snowblower is surging, it's got a Tecumseh carb on it, like this one. Pull this out and make sure this little jet is clean. If it's not, or it's clogged right here, mine just went through right there perfectly. I mean, it could have been dirty, but a lot of times you stick something right there and it's kind of jammed or clogged. Your carburetor was probably surging. Or if it was surging and you go to clean this and it's clogged right there, poke through it, clean it up. Your surging will likely go away. Next, we're going to pull this Welch plug off. Now, it's not necessarily necessary to do this. A lot of people don't do it. There's also one right here. If you use an ultrasonic cleaner, it's even more likely not necessary to do this. But they do give you extras in the kit. You can see the little holes right in here that are on the other side of this. So if you can spray in there really good, or you can stick a little piece of wire in there and clean those out and you're confident in it, you probably don't need to pull that out. I'm going to show you how to do it, or how I do it. If your carburetor's super bad and this is clogged or whatever, or you've got the kit and you just want to replace it while you've got it out, I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's do that right now. I'm going to put this in the vise and show you how I do it. All right, so here's the Welch plug right here. I have taken a punch and ground it down on both sides, a little angle there, little angle there. And punch it in at an angle, steep enough that you can dig in there, but not too steep that you hit the other side. You don't want to damage the carburetor. So this is kind of a homemade tool that I made, but so like I said, you want to be able to dig into the plug and get in there deep enough that you can kind of pry it out or pop it out, but not too deep that you damage the carb. Didn't do that tight enough, I guess. There you go. That's how you pop out a Welch plug on a carburetor. There. You can see the little holes there. Looks like I did go a little too deep on that. Just nicked the surface, but got a little camera stage fright. But there's the holes that I was talking about that you want to make sure are clean. Poke a wire through there. They'll just go through the other side of the venturi. Clean those out, make sure they're clear. We're not going to do this one. It's pretty wide open in here. You can tell. Well, we'll do it just for the sake of the video. Show you how to do another Welch plug. Let me get this one off, since we've got it. Okay, so same thing. There's not really anything under this one, so you don't have to be as careful without hitting anything. But there you go. There's another Welch plug pulled off. There's nothing under there really. This is just for the primer. That's why you can tell that one's not really ever needs to be pulled off. But that's how you pull the Welch plugs off. So we are good to clean this thing out. Actually put it in the dunk, the ultrasonic cleaner. So I'm going to put all these parts in the ultrasonic cleaner. I won't make you sit around for that. So I'll let these soak for a bit. Then we'll be back to show you how to put it all back together with the new rebuild kit. All right, guys, we are back. Got done putting this in the ultrasonic cleaner for some time, and we are ready to reassemble this carburetor. A couple things that I wanted to make note of that I realized when I was about to put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. When you pull the main nozzle tube out, there is a O-ring that sits on the top. I believe I know when I pulled this out, it was not attached to the main nozzle, and a majority of the times it will stay stuck inside of the carburetor. Make sure to pull that out. You can use the little tool, a pick, whatever, but make sure to reach in here and pull that out, because when you put this back in, you'll have a new O-ring on here, and you don't want to double those up. What else was I going to say? I can't remember, but that was the important one. Just make sure to pull this out. I pulled that out when I was cleaning it out. Before you put it in the ultrasonic cleaner, just poke through all the holes, make sure everything's clear. Maybe that was the other thing I was going to say. Just make sure to clean it out before you put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. But just make sure that O-ring is out. So this particular kit for this carburetor, the full rebuild kit, is a OEM Tecumseh part 632760B. And as I kind of showed you in the beginning, this one comes with a lot of parts. You can buy a lot of these parts individually, but this kit right here is not that expensive. I think the retail price on it is anywhere between $12 and $15, depending on where you look. So I keep these on hand. I use a lot of these in the snowblower season. Because a lot of times you need a lot of these parts, and you've got a kit right here that carries a lot of them. So I'm going to open this up and show you where all the pieces go, and we'll start putting them on the carburetor. So you've got your bowl gasket, bowl nut gasket. It comes with some, I think it's just a general kit, comes with some extra parts. We will be using a lot of them, but it does also come with some extras. But it's a great kit. It comes with a new needle hinge, Welch plugs, bowl gasket. Comes with the O-rings for the main nozzle. Comes with a new gasket for the plunger on the bowl if your bowl has one of these plunger drains. Comes with a new seat. Comes with a new hinge pin for the float. Comes with new screws if you want to change out the screws on the butterflies. What am I missing? Gaskets for up top. I mean, it's just a great kit. Comes with a lot of stuff. So let's go start going through. First thing I like to do, I'll explain in a minute, but I like to put the Welch plugs in first. First thing I like to do. So let's go over to the vise again and put both Welch plugs in. All right, so we've got to put the Welch plugs back in that we took out. So this is the Welch plug for the idle mixing well. That's what this part is called. Came to me. It's the idle mixing well. This one's a little bit thicker. So we're going to put that in now. The key here is, I mean, it pretty much fills as it lays. There's not a whole lot of room for movement. I mean, it doesn't move around. So the key here is to pretty much just put it, well, it is to put it flat. You don't want to indent it because there's not a lot of room, as you saw, underneath. So if you indent it underneath, you're going to take away from that well space for the fuel to come in and mix and do what it does. So what I like to do is put it down, and I'll take a punch, a flat punch, just slightly smaller than the actual Welch plug. And I'll tap down in the center, and then I'll go around and make sure it's flat and relatively flush with the actual carburetor. And then we'll call that good. You can just kind of, instead of me talking, I'm just going to kind of do it, and you can kind of watch and see how I do it. So I did the center first, got that pushing out the sides, so it puts force on the outside, so it sits. So now we wouldn't be able to pull it out now. So it's seated in there, but now I'm going to go around and just make sure it's secure. Just make it a little more flat, like it came from the factory. Just make sure it's flat all the way around. That might be a little overkill, might just be my OCD, but I just liked it to look uniform and kind of look how it came from the factory. But that's all there is to it. And then I'll take a pick and just kind of pick at some of the edges just to make sure it's not coming out, and we're solid. See, so it's really not that hard to do. If it comes with the parts and you're questioning whether you should take it out or not, and you feel confident about putting it back, just take it out, check it. It's not that big of a deal. And now this is technically the atmospheric vent. It's where the, no, I can't remember what I called it the first time. The primer hose plugs into. And this one I pushed down, so there is a little indent. That is how it came. Spare parts flying around. And there's a little hole under here, so I go under there and just pry up a little bit and make sure that one's secure, and we're good. Solid. Go back to the bench. All right, so one thing that I do, I'm not sure, I haven't seen this done before by others. Maybe it has. This certainly isn't my trick. But the reason I do this step first is because I use nail polish. I'll put nail polish around this exterior Welch plug that covers the mixing well. I'll cover the edges with nail polish. Right now I've got clear. Before I've used kind of a color one, just to almost like the factories put their paint pen on there to kind of show if anybody's messed with it. I've done that before. It's not a big deal. I'm not worried if my customers mess with it or they take it somewhere else. So my wife gave me some clear one. And so that's what I use. The reason I do that is just in case, you know, I did nick it with my punch, you know, taking it out, or maybe I didn't seat it too well, or for whatever reason. It's just a cheap insurance to make sure that there's no air. There's no air leaks. Once you get all the gaskets on here and sealed up, you'd hate to have a tiny little air leak in there causing you havoc just because you took that off to clean it. So I do that Welch plug first so I can put some nail polish on there. That way I can let it dry for a second while I work on some other things. And then we'll get back to it. So like I said, it's just a very cheap insurance, something that I do on every carburetor that I pulled a Welch plug off of. I don't do it on the internal one, it's not a big deal. But this one, where it's possible that there could be an air leak, I just like to seal up the edges. Make sure there's not one. And maybe this is rash thinking and maybe it doesn't do any good and it's just kind of, I'm just crazy. Let me know in the comments down below if you've seen this before, you do something similar, if I'm crazy. Or if you think it's a good idea. If you're new to the channel, think about subscribing. Hit that thumbs up for me. And I'll keep making videos if you like them. Get this to stand up. I like to keep it level while the polish dries so it's not dripping all over the rest of the carb. Okay, so like I said, we've got 2 O-rings that are going to go on the main nozzle tube. Put those on. So one goes on the very bottom. Just kind of slip on there. And then one goes on the top. So basically they go on to these little ledges. There's these little ridges right here and right here. One on the bottom up to it and one on the top up to it. Now if your carburetor has one of these little plunger drain deals, push that down. Let's see if I can do this right. You got to get over the spring too. There we go. So you've got to hold the spring down and pop this off the ridge here, but also over the spring because it sits on the spring. Pull the spring off. Pull the plunger out. I'm going to spray this off with carb cleaner. Didn't look like that all got off in this ultrasonic cleaner. Hang on. All right, so once you get that, you pull the little washer off. Put the new one on. It's a different color. Put it back up through the hole. Nope. The other way, duh. Put the spring over. And if you can, hold the spring down. It's going to be tricky. Let's see if I can get it on easier than it came off. Hold this one side of the spring down with your finger and push the other side down with the plunger, and there you go, voila. There you go, you got a new plunger washer in there. Helps seal off the fuel. Okay, that nail polish is ready, so let's start putting this back together. So first I'm going to put the main nozzle in there. It's going to be kind of tight because you've got brand new O-rings. You can see that went in good, the orange piece right there. Put the seat in. Now let's see if I can show you this. There's two sides to the seat. There's a side with some numbers printed on it, and then there's a side with some ridges around it. Hopefully you can see that. It's like a little moat around the center hole. The ridge, the line around the lined circle goes down. So you want the numbers facing up, if that makes sense. I like to put a little WD-40 on it just to ease it going in. And then that's what this tool is for. You put it right there on that. Put the seat down in the hole like that. And it sticks, your tool comes right out clean. So that's set. Next we need to build the needle and the little hinge. Put it on the, oh, I'm doing that off camera, sorry. Put it on the float. New hinge pin. Slide that in there. And then another use for this tool. This flat part is a float leveling gauge. So you put it under here, and you want the float to just barely be hovering above or just barely be touching that. And this seems to be a little too low. Just reach in there, bend the metal tab down a hair. And that's perfect, I like that. Next, we'll put the bowl gasket on. We'll put the bowl on. So the bowl, the lower part of the bowl, see how it drops down? This is essentially to catch sediment, if that makes sense. So that goes on the opposite side of where the needle drops the fuel in. So here's where the needle drops the fuel in. You want to put this sediment bowl on the opposite side, or the sediment side on the opposite of where the needle sits. So if you can see this, line that up. Here's the needle, we'll put the sediment deep end over here. Also gives more room for the float to move. These Tecumseh gaskets, bowl gaskets, are so thick. Awesome. Okay. Then we will take the high-speed bowl nut. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to mention from the beginning. Remember when I said that? A couple things to mention. When you're taking the high-speed bowl nut, there are a couple little holes. Don't miss them. I'm trying to find my tool. Can't find them. So you've got your main holes right here. You've got your main one in the center. But there's one itty bitty tiny hole think it's time to get a new filming camera. This one is not good at depicting. There's an itty bitty hole right there, if you see it. Make sure that that is clear and not clogged. So you've got 1, 2, and they go through. So just all the way through, make sure that goes all the way through. 1, 2, the one in the middle, and then the one right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 holes on the high-speed bowl nut. Make sure you get them all. Okay, new bowl nut washer, gasket. Screw that in. And tighten it down. Now, you don't want to go crazy, but make sure it's snug. Remember that gasket, how thick it was, okay? So just tight right there. Perfect. Now, this is the idle restrictor screw that we talked about in the beginning. That will cause your surging. There are 3 holes in it. The one that goes all the way through, so 1, 2, one on opposite side of each other, 1, 2, and the one in the middle. The one in the middle is the important part. Make sure you can clean that out. And that just goes back in the side. Just screw it in until it tightens. If you want to put the little plastic cap on, you can. We're not going to play with any of the butterflies or anything. They're good, solid. We're not going to worry about adjusting those or anything. So those are the parts we've got left over. An extra Welch plug, a gasket, a few things. So that's what we've got left over. So we've got a few parts left over, but we used a majority of them. Pretty good set for the money, especially considering all the parts we did use if you were to buy them individually. But that is a complete rebuild of this carburetor. Everything that can be replaced, with the exception of the butterfly screws. But everything that can be replaced in a rebuild was replaced. And that is how you replace it on a Tecumseh snowblower carburetor. So thanks for joining me today, guys. I love doing these carburetors. I know a lot of people have issues with Tecumseh and things like that, but I love rebuilding these carburetors. So thanks for following me along. If you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, think about subscribing. Think about leaving me a thumbs up. And as always, make a choice to have a great day. Thank you all for watching.